Welcome to Educator.com's English Grammar course. This lesson is on nouns. Let's get started. All right, we're going to begin with a brief lesson overview. We're going to ask, what is a noun? What is it? What does it do? We're going to look at different kinds of nouns, which is going to be the major focus of this lesson. We're going to look at singular and plural nouns, collective nouns, concrete and abstract nouns, proper and common nouns, and count and non-count nouns. And then we're going to do a little practice identifying nouns in some literary passages. All right, to begin with, what is a noun? Well, the word noun comes from the Latin word nomen, which means name. So basically, a noun is a name for something. It names a person, place, or thing, or idea. When you hear noun, here's your mnemonic, think Johnstown, because John is a person. This is John Philip Sousa. A town is a thing, and Johnstown, Pennsylvania is a place. So when you hear noun, think Johnstown. Anything that you can cover under Johnstown is probably a noun. All right, let's do a little practice to begin with. See if you can identify the nouns in this passage. This is from the beginning of J.M. Barrie's book, Peter Pan. All children, except one, grow up. They soon know that they will grow up, and the way Wendy knew was this. One day, when she was 2 years old, she was playing in a garden, and she plucked another flower and ran with it to her mother. Take a good look. See if you can identify all the nouns. Pause the video if you need to. And here they are. All children. Okay. Children are, of course, people, except one, grow up. They soon know that they will grow up. And the way, which is an idea. Wendy is a person. Knew was this. One day, which is a thing. When she was 2 years old, two things. She was playing in a garden, a thing. And she plucked another flower, a thing, and ran with it to her mother, a person. J.M. Barrie is also a person, and Peter Pan is a fictional character, but in the book, he's a person. So those are nouns as well. Now, one of the first things you need to know about nouns is that they come in both singular and plural forms. Singular nouns name only one person, place, thing, or idea. Plural nouns name more than one of the same person, place, thing, or idea. Now, there are irregular nouns that have irregular plurals, but plural nouns are usually formed by adding s or es to the end of a singular noun. Let's look at a couple of examples. All right, one cat. We've got one cat lying on the carpet there. We add s to the end when we've got two cats. Okay, pretty simple. Most nouns behave this way. But if the noun ends with an s sound, such as glass, then you add the es and the syllable es on the end. So glass becomes glasses because you have more than one. That's basically how you turn a singular noun into a plural for almost every noun in English. All right, what about collective nouns? Collective nouns are a special kind of noun that name a class or a group. They are a single entity composed of one unit with multiple parts, usually multiple very similar parts. Collective nouns are usually treated as singular. You act like they're singular nouns even though they describe a group of several things. These nouns are also called group nouns because they describe groups. Now, what am I actually talking about? Well, you might look at a noun like team. A team contains multiple units that are similar. It contains multiple people, like this soccer team. Okay. Similarly, a choir contains multiple singers, but it's treated as a singular noun. We say one team, one choir. I sing in a choir. It's singular, even though it's a group of multiple things. So collective nouns are a little tricky, but that's how they work. All right, now we come to concrete and abstract nouns. Concrete nouns names things that you can experience with your senses. So, for example, dog. You experience a dog with your senses. You see the dog, you hear the dog barking, you smell the dog, you feel the dog. Your senses pretty much tell you everything you need to know about the dog. Or motorcycle, or water. Abstract nouns, by contrast, name qualities or ideas that you can't experience with your senses, such as hope or peace, or happiness, abstract emotions or philosophical concepts. Now, how does this actually play out? Concrete nouns include concrete, which is how you remember what a concrete noun is. You can experience concrete with all your senses. Or blanket. Again, you can touch it, you can see it, you can smell it, you can hear it. Well, you can hear it if someone drops it on the floor. Truck, fire, apple, all things that you can experience with your senses. Very concrete, right there in the moment with you. Abstract nouns, by contrast, happiness, mercy, justice, surprise, or beauty. Most people would agree that these things exist, but they're not things that you can touch, things that you can see, things that you can hear. Your senses don't tell you a whole lot about them, so they are abstract nouns. And again, these can be singular or plural. You can have one surprise, two surprises. You can have one blanket, two blankets. But you can also have concrete, which you don't really count. All right, proper and common nouns. Proper nouns name specific people, places, and things, such as William Shakespeare, City of Tokyo, or Harvard University. Common nouns, by contrast, name general people, places, and things. So instead of William Shakespeare, you have playwright. Playwright could be any playwright. William Shakespeare is one. Tokyo becomes city, or Harvard University becomes school. Now, the way to tell a proper noun from a common noun is that proper nouns are usually capitalized and common nouns are usually not, unless they're the first word in the sentence, in which case you always capitalize the first word in the sentence. Proper nouns are almost always capitalized, except for people like E.E. Cummings or K.D. Lang, who insist on spelling their name with lowercase letters. But aside from exceptions like that, proper nouns are capitalized and common nouns are not, unless they're at the beginning of a sentence. Let's look at a couple of examples. Albert Einstein. One person, an utterly unique person, so you capitalize his name, Albert, and Einstein, as opposed to scientist, which is the common noun version, could refer to any scientist. Similarly, the Mona Lisa is a painting, it's unique, if you use a proper noun for it, you capitalize it, as opposed to just plain old painting, which could be any painting. Now, count and non-count nouns. These actually trip a fair number of people up. Count nouns, quite simply, are things that can be separated and counted, like tree or book or box. You can say one tree, two trees, three trees. Notice that count nouns can be plural. Non-count nouns name things that cannot be separated and counted, like air or sadness or music. You don't say one air, two airs, or one music, two musics. It just doesn't make any sense. You say more music, more air, less air, because they're non-count nouns. You can't break them up. Count nouns can be made plural, one, two. Non-count nouns cannot. Major difference between them. Let's look at some examples. All right, classic count noun, bear. If you run into a bear, you are very aware of how many bears there are. One bear, two bears, okay, it might be time to run. Water, on the other hand, you never say one water, two waters, unless you're an American and you're talking about bottles of water. And what you actually should be saying is one bottle, two bottles. But if you're actually just talking about the drippy wet substance, you say water. More water, less water. You can't count it. So bear is a count noun and water is non-count. All right, let's apply this. See if you can find the nouns in this passage and tell what kind they are. I consider that a man's brain originally is like a little empty attic, and you have to stock it with such furniture as you choose. A fool takes in all the lumber of every sort that he comes across, so that the knowledge which might be useful to him gets crowded out, or at best is jumbled up with a lot of other things, so that he has difficulty in laying his hands upon it. Now the skilled workman is very careful indeed as to what he takes into his brain attic. He will have nothing but the tools which may help him in doing his work. This is a quote from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle in his book A Study in Scarlet. Now take a good look, pause the video if you need to, see if you can find the nouns and determine what kind they are. All right, man, that's a lot of nouns. Okay, I consider that a man's brain. Now, first of all, some of you may have marked man's. You'd be wrong. In this case, man, see that apostrophe S, that possessive? That's actually acting as an adjective, modifying brain. So we're not counting it as a noun for the purpose of this exercise because it's doing the job of an adjective. And we'll get to adjectives in a later lesson. Brain, however, is a thing. It's a count noun, one brain, two brains. It's concrete. You can experience a brain with your senses, usually if you cut it out of the animal it came from. So brain is a noun. Originally is like a little empty attic. Once again, a concrete noun, singular, and also it's not abstract, it's not collective, it's attic. And you have to stock it with such furniture. Oh, there's a non-count noun. You don't say one furniture, two furnitures. So concrete, non-count, as you choose. A fool, okay? It's a somewhat more abstract concept, but singular noun, count, takes in all the lumber, non-count noun, of every sort. That's an abstract that he comes across. So that the knowledge, also abstract. You can't experience knowledge with your senses, but that's actually non-count, so it can't be singular or plural. It's always got to be singular, which might be useful to him, gets crowded out, or at best is jumbled up with a lot, abstract again, of other things. All right, that one's pretty concrete, so that he has difficulty, definitely abstract, in laying his hands, very concrete, upon it. Now, the skilled workman, concrete, singular, non-collective, is very careful indeed as to what he takes into his brain attic. That's a little bit more of a metaphor. It's kind of off in its own way. He will have nothing but the tools which may help him in doing his work. Now, if you remember from our J.M. Barrie example at the beginning of this lesson, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle is a person. He is a proper noun. So is a study in scarlet. Study is a noun, but a study in scarlet as a whole is a proper noun because it's the title of a book. So we have mostly common nouns in this passage, but we do have two proper nouns in here. Let's do one more example. One hot summer's day, a fox was strolling through an orchard till he came to a bunch of grapes just ripening on a vine, which had been trained over a lofty branch. "Just the things to quench my thirst," he said. Drawing back a few paces, he took a run and a jump and just missed the bunch. Turning around again, he jumped up, but with no greater success. Again and again he tried after the tempting morsel, but at last had to give up. He walked away with his nose in the air, saying, "I am sure they are sour." That's one of Aesop's fables, The Fox and the Grapes. Take a good look, see if you can find all the nouns in this passage, and determine what kind they are. And here they are, one hot summer's day. Notice that summers, once again, is not treated as a noun because it's doing the job of an adjective. It's modifying day. But day is concrete, singular, common. A fox, concrete, singular, common, was strolling through an orchard, concrete, singular, common, till he came to a bunch, concrete, singular, common, of grapes, oh, plural this time, just ripening on a vine. Now we're back to singular, still concrete, still common, starting to get this, which had been trained over a lofty branch, concrete, singular, common. Just the things, so we have a plural one here and a little bit more abstract, to quench my thirst. Totally abstract. And also, generally speaking, a non-count noun. You don't say one thirst, two thirsts. Drawing back a few paces. Okay, he took a run. That's definitely concrete and singular, and a jump, and just missed the bunch. Turning around again, he jumped up, but with no greater success. That's definitely an abstract noun because you can't touch success, you can't smell it. Again and again, he tried after the tempting morsel, but at last had to give up. He walked away with his nose in the air, saying, "I am sure they are sour." And once again, Aesop is a proper noun. So now you've got a general idea of the different kinds of nouns available in English and how to identify them. Remember, a noun denotes a person, place, or thing, or idea. And there are several different kinds, which we reviewed in this lesson. And you should now be equipped to use and identify nouns wherever you need to. And that's all for this lesson. Thank you for watching. Educator.com.